Hey, church girl. Let me say this plainly because I don't want you spiraling in silence. If you obeyed God and now feel unsettled instead of relieved, confused instead of celebrated, quiet instead of affirmed, you are not broken. You did not misunderstand God. You are simply in a season nobody prepared you for, because nobody tells you what happens after obedience. Nobody talks about the emotional whiplash that can come when you finally stop striving. Nobody warns you that peace can feel unfamiliar when your nervous system has been trained on pressure. So if you've been asking yourself, did I do something wrong? Or why does this feel so exposed? Or why don't I feel instantly free? Stay with me. This conversation is for this season of your life, whenever you found it. If you're new here, welcome to Church Girl Heal. I'm Dr. Brenda, and this space exists for women, for Christian women who love God deeply, serve faithfully, and are learning how to live whole without bleeding in silence. I'm not here to shame the church or diminish faith. I'm here to name what often goes unspoken and help you recognize when God is forming you and not punishing you. Because some of what you're feeling right now isn't rebellion, it's reorientation. Sis, here's what I've learned, both personally and through walking with women for years. I've learned that obedience doesn't always come with applause. Sometimes it comes with quiet. Sometimes it comes with space. Sometimes it comes with unsettling realization that the noise you called purpose was actually pressure. And when that noise leaves, you don't immediately feel peace. You feel exposed. You feel unsure. You feel like you've stepped off a moving treadmill and now your body doesn't know how to stand still. That doesn't mean you miss God. It means your body and spirit are catching up to the decision your faith already made. So let me tell you what this looked like for me. There was a season about a year and a half ago, or 2 years, when I knew God was calling me to pull back. I think this was 2023. God was calling me to pull back because I was constantly pouring. I was outpouring. I was always showing up for being the strong one, the capable one, the dependable one. And when I finally obeyed, I expected relief. I expected rest to come warm and affirming. Instead, it felt awkward. It felt quiet in a way that made me uncomfortable. I found myself wondering if I was doing enough, if I was still useful, if I was somehow falling behind, not because God said that, but because my identity had been shaped in environments where being needed felt like being loved. But you see, Scripture talks to this more honestly than we often. In Lamentations, the writer says, "It is good to wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord." Quietly, not productively, not visibly, quietly. And that word quietly is what trips us up, because church culture taught many of us how to endure loudly, how to serve visibly, how to sacrifice publicly. But nobody taught us how to trust God when the affirmation stops. Nobody taught us how to sit with God without proving something. Nobody taught us that obedience can lead you into a season where you are no longer performing for anyone, including yourself. And here's the part we don't like to admit. It is often easier to keep going than to stop. Going keeps you distracted. Going keeps you validated. Going keeps you from feeling the grief of letting go of who you used to be for others. Rest removes the noise. That's what I'm learning. And when the noise is gone, the questions get louder. Who am I if I'm not constantly useful? What if people stopped calling? And they did. What if my value was tied more to what I provided than who I am? Unfortunately, that's what I'm learning. Those questions don't mean you lack faith. They mean you are finally telling the truth. I had to agree with that. I had to come to accept that. This is where we have to talk about the difference between performance and formation. Because performance asks, how much can I give? Where formation asks, who are you becoming? Performance rewards visibility and formation requires trust. Performance accepts you busy, but formation keeps you honest. Formation usually begins after obedience, not before. After you say no, after you step back, after you stop filling every gap, and that space can feel disorienting because it exposes how much of your identity was built around being useful instead of being. Let me normalize something with a little. Let me normalize something for you because, you see, some of us rested for 3 days and immediately thought, Lord, I'm backsliding. No, sis, you're tired. Some of you take one step back and felt the urge to send a group text explaining your spiritual journey. You are not required to submit a resignation letter to justify rest. God did not say, come unto me, all who are weary and heavy laden, but first explain yourself. He said, come. That's it. No footnotes, no disclaimers. You know, there's also a fear that creeps in during this season that we don't talk about enough. And that's the fear of being forgotten. When you stop performing, you wonder if you'll still matter. If you're not visible, will you be overlooked? If you're not busy, will you be replaced? If you're not needed, will you still have purpose? Sis, let me tell you this clearly. God does not lose track of people who rest. He loses track of people who hide. And even then he does not. And rest is not hiding. Rest is trusting. Trusting that God can still move without your exhaustion. Trusting that your worth is not tied to output. Trusting that obedience does not require depletion. You know, the prophet Habakkuk wrote something that's so relevant. He says, though the vision tarries, wait for it. Waiting for alignment, waiting for formation. Waiting is allowing God to do a deeper work than what applause could ever confirm. This season feels slower, quieter, or less impressive. That doesn't mean God has pulled away. It means He's working below the surface where roots grow. So let me say this slowly, firmly, and without apology. If God didn't ask that, we are not doing that anymore. Not guilt-driven faith, not burnout in the name of obedience, not constant availability just to feel approved. Rest is not quitting. Rest is trusting God enough to stop striving and let Him work without your exhaustion. So sis, if this message made you breathe deeper, if it named something you've been carrying quietly, if it gave language to a tension you couldn't explain, that's not coincidence. You didn't fail. You didn't drift. You didn't lose your faith. You obeyed. And now you're learning how to trust God in the space obedience created. Stay here. Breathe here. Let God meet you here. And remember, if God didn't ask that, you are not doing that anymore. I'm Dr. Brenda, and this has been Church Girl Healed. Until next week, rest and heal.